The discovery. Dr. Ava Samuels, renowned xenoarchaeologist, stepped out of the shuttle onto the barren surface of planet X975. The red dust swirled around her boots as she surveyed the desolate landscape stretching to the horizon. Yet amidst the emptiness, towering alien structures jutted from the ground like skeletal fingers grasping at the crimson sky. Ava's heart raced with anticipation. These cyclopean ruins were unlike anything she had seen in her decades exploring the galaxy. The geometric precision and sheer scale defied explanation. Who could have constructed such marvels on this remote, lifeless world? She signaled to her team to gather their equipment and begin the trek to the base of the nearest edifice. As they approached, Ava noticed strange symbols etched into the bizarre metallic material of the ruin's surface. The material itself seemed to subtly vibrate with an inner luminescence, as if infused with some unknown energy. Using a portable scanner, Ava attempted to decipher the symbols. The tendrils of an ancient language, hauntingly familiar yet distinctly alien, scrolled across her handheld screen. With each glyph, a sinking realization clawed at the back of her mind. It couldn't be. "Dr. Samuels, I think you need to see this." A voice crackled over the comm. It was her assistant, Kai, positioned near what appeared to be an entranceway into the structure's interior. Ava hurried over, her mind racing. As she reached Kai, her eyes widened at the sight of the enormous open portal. But it was the object in the center of the entrance that made her gasp. On a raised dais stood an unmistakable shape, the golden double helix of human DNA. "Kai, do you understand what this means?" Ava whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of the implications. Kai nodded slowly. If the dating of these ruins is correct, it would mean that humans were in this part of the galaxy thousands of years before our official histories as we first achieved interstellar travel. Ava looked back at the towering alien structure, a sense of vertigo washing over her. This changes everything. If humans built this, then our entire understanding of galactic history is wrong. We must uncover the truth, no matter where it leads. She took a deep breath and stepped forward into the maw of the ancient human ruin, determined to face the revelations that lay within. The forgotten legacy of humanity beckoned, and Ava knew there was no turning back from the precipice of discovery. As the darkness of the interior enveloped her, Ava activated the lights on her exosuit. The cavernous chamber was filled with advanced technology, sleek consoles, holographic displays, strange devices with purpose yet unknown. She ran her fingers across the controls, finding them perfectly attuned to human hands. The other members of the team fanned out, marveling at the scope of the hidden ancient installation. But it was the towering mainframe at the center of the chamber that drew Ava like a lodestone. As she approached, a low hum began to emanate from its core, building to a crescendo. Suddenly, a blast of sapphire light engulfed the room, coalescing into a shimmering hologram of a human man dressed in a form-fitting suit of armor. "Greetings, descendants of Earth," the hologram spoke, its voice heavy with sorrow and purpose. "If you are seeing this, then the last of us have long since turned to dust, and our great civilization has faded into oblivion. But our story must not be lost. You must know the truth of your heritage and the great calamity that befell us all." Ava listened, enraptured, as the hologram began its tale, a story of an ancient human empire that once spanned the stars, of technological wonders beyond imagining, and of a terrible war against a malevolent alien force that brought it all crashing down. Tears welled in her eyes as she grasped the sheer scale of the tragedy, the loss of untold trillions of lives and entire worlds scarred of human presence. Yet amidst the apocalyptic revelations, a flicker of hope burned. The hologram spoke of a secret, a powerful artifact hidden away by humanity's greatest scientists in a last-ditch effort to preserve their species. An artifact that could restore the lost glory of their civilization and allow a new generation of humans to claim their rightful place on the galactic stage. As the hologram faded, replaced by a star map with a set of coordinates, Ava felt the weight of destiny settle upon her shoulders. She knew with unwavering certainty that her team had a sacred duty to follow this path to its end, no matter the danger. For they were not just archaeologists, but the heralds of humanity reborn. Ava turned to her team, determination etched on her features. We have a mission: to uncover the truth of our past, to secure our legacy, and to light the flame of a new era for humankind. Who's with me? One by one, the others nodded, united by an unbreakable resolve. Together, they would venture forth to recover the lost artifact and unravel the deepest mysteries of humanity's forgotten history. The future of their species depended on it. As Ava transmitted their findings back to the orbiting research vessel, she knew their lives had irrevocably changed. They were no longer mere scientists, but the vanguard of humanity's resurgence. And she would not rest until the true story of their past was known to all, and their rightful inheritance reclaimed from the ashes of antiquity. Echoes of an empire. The obsidian obelisk loomed over Ava as she stepped into the hidden chamber deep within the ancient ruins. Pulsing veins of amethyst light traced alien patterns across its surface, casting eerie shadows that danced on the metallic walls. Her breath caught in her throat as she approached the base of the obelisk and placed her palm upon a spherical depression. With a hiss of pneumatics, the depression sank inward and spun, locking into place. The obelisk thrummed with power, and a shimmering hologram burst into existence above it, taking the form of a slowly rotating galactic map. Ava stared in awe at the myriad of star systems and nebulae laid out before her, connected by a spiderweb of glowing lines. Dr. Samuels, are you seeing this? Kai's voice crackled over the comm, tinged with excitement. Ava nodded, forgetting for a moment that Kai couldn't see her. It's a star chart of the entire galaxy as it was thousands of years ago. And those lines, I think they represent trade routes, or maybe even a network of wormhole gates. She studied the map intently, her eyes drawn to a dazzling cluster of light near the galactic core. Look at this, Kai. This star system here, it's labeled as the capital of the human empire, Cronus Prime. Kai let out a low whistle. Cronus Prime. It has a certain gravitas to it, the seat of power for a civilization that once ruled the stars. Ava's mind raced with the implications. If humanity had commanded such a vast stellar empire, what heights of technology and culture had they achieved? What wonders lay waiting to be rediscovered on the countless worlds they once called home? She was jolted out of her reverie by a sudden shift in the hologram. The map zoomed in on a specific sector, and a new set of glyphs appeared, pulsing with urgent purpose. Ava's eyes widened as the translation scrolled across her visor. Kai, I think I know what happened to the human empire, she said softly, a note of dread creeping into her voice. There was a war, a conflict of unimaginable scale against an enemy known as the Vortex Swarm. The hologram shifted again, this time displaying a nightmarish vision of biomechanical ships, all jagged edges and pulsating flesh, descending upon world after world, leaving only ash and ruin in their wake. Ava felt a chill run down her spine as she watched the fall of humanity play out before her eyes. The Vortex Swarm, they consumed everything in their path, driven by an insatiable hunger, she whispered. The human empire fought with every weapon at their disposal, but in the end, it wasn't enough. The final image seared itself into Ava's mind, a haggard fleet of human ships, battered and bleeding, making a desperate last stand above the smoldering remains of Cronus Prime. And then darkness. Kai's voice broke the heavy silence. Dr. Samuels, there's more. The hologram, it's showing a new set of coordinates. I think it might be leading us to a surviving human colony from that era. Ava felt a surge of hope amidst the grim revelations. If even a single outpost had endured through the ages, it could hold the key to unlocking the secrets of their lost past and forging a new future for humanity. She downloaded the coordinates into her suit's computer and took one last look at the obelisk, now dark and dormant. The weight of history pressed down upon her, but Ava squared her shoulders and turned to face the challenges ahead. She knew the road would be long and fraught with peril, but the promise of reclaiming humanity's legacy drove her onwards. As she strode out of the chamber to rejoin her team, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that they were embarking on a journey that would change the face of the galaxy once more. The descendants of Earth were rising from the ashes of antiquity, and the universe would soon tremble before their resurgent might. The gates of the Crucible ground open, revealing a cavernous entrance hall bathed in pulsing crimson light. Ava and her team stumbled inside, the massive doors slamming shut behind them with a resounding boom. For a moment, the only sound was the ragged breathing of the survivors and the distant scratching of the swarm outside. "We can't stay here forever," Kai said, his voice echoing in the eerie stillness. "Those things will find a way in eventually." Ava nodded, scanning the hall for any clue as to their next move. Her gaze fell upon a towering hologram flickering to life in the center of the chamber, a ghostly figure clad in ornate armor, his face a mask of grim determination. "Descendants of Earth, hear me now," the hologram spoke, his voice a deep, resonant growl. "I am Valdo Khan, last Lord Marshal of the Human Empire. If you have reached this sanctum, then our sacrifice was not in vain." The hologram shifted, revealing a swirling vortex of dark energy behind Valdo. "In our hubris, we created a weapon capable of annihilating the vortex swarm, but at a terrible cost. The Singularity Engine harnessed the power of a collapsing star, and its use would mean the end of our civilization." Eva felt a chill run down her spine as the implications sank in. The Human Empire had faced a stark choice: unleash an apocalyptic weapon and destroy themselves in the process, or hold fast to their ideals and risk total extinction. "I chose to hide the Singularity Engine here, in the depths of the Crucible, rather than condemn our worlds to oblivion," Valdo continued, his eyes haunted. "But now in your darkest hour, you must decide the fate of the galaxy. Will you take up this terrible burden and end the vortex swarm forever, even if it means sacrificing everything we once were? The choice is yours." The hologram flickered and faded, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Ava felt the weight of destiny pressing down on her shoulders, a palpable force that threatened to crush her very soul. She turned to face her team, seeing the same mixture of fear and resolve etched on their faces. They had come this far, risked so much, but the true test of their mettle lay ahead. "We can't let the sacrifices of our ancestors be in vain," Ava said, her voice ringing with conviction. "We have to find the Singularity Engine and end this war once and for all." Kai stepped forward, placing a hand on Eva's shoulder. "We're with you, Dr. Samuels, to the very end." As one, the team turned to face the inner sanctum of the Crucible, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous halls. They were the last hope of humanity, the inheritors of a legacy forged in blood and fire, and they would not falter, even in the face of annihilation. For in that moment, they were more than mere individuals. They were the embodiment of the human spirit, indomitable and unyielding in the face of impossible odds, and the galaxy would tremble before their resolve. The Singularity Engine. The depths of the Crucible were a labyrinth of twisting corridors and cavernous chambers, each more menacing than the last. Ava led her team through the gloom, the flickering light of their torches casting eerie shadows on the ancient metal walls. The air was thick with the tang of ozone and the cloying scent of decay, a reminder of the horrors that lurked outside. The Singularity Engine should be housed in the central vault, Kai said, consulting the fragmented schematics they had pieced together. "If the records are accurate, it will be guarded by the most advanced security systems the Empire ever created." Ava nodded, her jaw set with grim determination. She knew that reaching the weapon would be a trial unlike any they had faced before, a gauntlet of death traps and ancient machines whose very existence defied comprehension. But there could be no turning back now, not with the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. As they approached the massive doors of the central vault, a low, ominous hum filled the air, setting Ava's teeth on edge. The doors themselves were a masterwork of arcane technology, covered in pulsing veins of energy and intricate glyphs that seemed to writhe before their eyes. "Brace yourselves," Ava said, her hand hovering over the activation panel. "There's no telling what's waiting for us on the other side." With a deep breath, she pressed her palm against the panel. The doors shuddered and began to grind open, ancient gears screaming in protest. Ava and her team raised their weapons, ready to face whatever nightmares lay beyond. But as the doors parted, they revealed a sight that stole the breath from their lungs and sent shivers down their spines. The central vault was a vast spherical chamber, its walls lined with pulsing conduits of dark energy, and at its heart, suspended in a crackling field of eldritch lightning, was the Singularity Engine. It was a monstrosity of technology, a jagged mass of obsidian spires and writhing tendrils that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. In its core, a seething vortex of pure nothingness swirled, a twisted parody of the black holes that lurked at the centers of galaxies. The very air around it shimmered with a sickening wrongness, as if reality itself recoiled from its presence. "By the stars," Kai whispered, his face ashen. "What have we unleashed?" Ava swallowed hard, fighting back the primal terror that clawed at her mind. She knew that the Singularity Engine was more than just a weapon. It was a perversion of the natural order, a folly of hubris and desperation that threatened to unravel the very fabric of the universe. And yet, for all its horror, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was their only hope. The vortex swarm had pushed humanity to the brink of extinction once before, and they would do so again unless they were stopped. The Singularity Engine was a devil's bargain, but it was one they had to make. With trembling hands, Ava approached the control console at the base of the engine. The interface was alien and inscrutable, a dizzying array of holographic sigils and flickering runes. But as she laid her fingers on the keys, a sudden clarity washed over her, as if the knowledge of generations flowed through her veins. "Valdor, guide my hand," she whispered, a prayer to the ghosts of the past. "Let our sacrifice be not in vain." With a final, decisive keystroke, Ava activated the Singularity Engine. The chamber shook with a deafening roar as the vortex at the heart of the machine began to spin faster and faster, drawing in the very light around it. Bolts of dark energy arsed from the engine's core, searing the air with the stench of ozone. And then, with a blinding flash and a sound like the ending of worlds, the Singularity Engine unleashed its devastating power. A wave of pure nothingness exploded outward, annihilating everything in its path. The vortex swarm, the crucible, the very planet of Craxus AX, all were consumed by the ravenous singularity, erased from existence in the blink of an eye. Ava and her team watched in stunned silence as the view screen showed the cataclysmic destruction unfolding before them. They had escaped the Crucible's destruction by the narrowest of margins, fleeing in their dropship mere moments before the Singularity Engine's activation. But their hearts were heavy with the weight of what they had done. "It's over," Kai said, his voice hoarse with exhaustion and grief. "The vortex swarm is gone, but at what cost?" Ava closed her eyes, the faces of the trillions who had perished in the war flashing before her. The human empire had sacrificed everything to stop the swarm, and now, in the final act of that ancient tragedy, she and her team had unleashed the very weapon they had sought to bury. "We carry the burden of their choices now," she said softly. "The empire is gone, but we remain. We are the inheritors of their legacy, for good or ill." As the dropship sped away from the expanding singularity, Ava knew that their journey was far from over. The galaxy had been forever changed by their actions, and the repercussions would echo across the stars for eons to come. But even in the depths of her sorrow, she felt a flicker of hope. The human spirit had endured through the ages, unyielding in the face of unimaginable adversity. And now, with the threat of the vortex swarm finally vanquished, they had a chance to build a new future, one free from the shadows of the past. It would not be easy. The scars of the war ran deep, and the revelation of humanity's true history would shake the very foundations of galactic society. But Ava and her team would not falter. They would carry the torch of their species' resilience and ingenuity, lighting the way for a new era of exploration and discovery. And perhaps in time, the sacrifices of their ancestors would not have been in vain. Perhaps the legacy of the human empire would be remembered not as a cautionary tale of hubris and destruction, but as a testament to the indomitable will of a species that refused to surrender, even in the face of oblivion. As the dropship charted a course for the nearest human outpost, Ava allowed herself a small, bittersweet smile. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the descendants of Earth would never stop reaching for the stars. Embers of hope. The Orion Nebula glittered like a jewel against the velvet backdrop of space, its swirling clouds of gas and dust illuminated by the newborn stars within. On the observation deck of Starbase Prometheus, Ava stood before the expansive viewport, her gaze lost in the cosmic vista. 3 months had passed since the activation of the Singularity engine and the annihilation of the Vortex swarm. In that time, the revelations uncovered by Ava and her team had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The truth of humanity's ancient empire and the cataclysmic war that had brought it low had upended the very foundations of galactic society. For Ava, the weight of that knowledge was a constant companion. The faces of those lost to the Singularity engine's fury haunted her dreams, and the burden of the choices she had made pressed heavily upon her soul. But even in the depths of her grief, she found solace in the resilience and determination of her people. In the wake of the crisis, the fractured colonies and outposts of humanity had come together like never before. United by the shared knowledge of their past and the sacrifices of their ancestors, they had begun the monumental task of rebuilding and reclaiming their place among the stars. Starbase Prometheus was a testament to that newfound unity. A marvel of engineering and a symbol of humanity's resurgent might. Forged from the salvaged technology of the ancient empire and the ingenuity of its modern inheritors, it served as a beacon of hope and a guard-post against the dangers of the cosmos. As Ava watched the ships of the nascent human fleet drift by, their hulls gleaming in the light of the nebula, a soft chime from her communicator drew her attention. "Dr. Samuels, your presence is requested in the council chamber. The emissaries from the Galactic Assembly have arrived." Ava took a deep breath, steeling herself for the meeting to come. In the aftermath of the Vortex War, the other spacefaring civilizations of the galaxy had been forced to confront the reality of humanity's existence and the power they wielded. Some had reacted with fear and suspicion, seeing in humanity's resurgence a specter of a new galactic hegemony. Others had extended tentative offers of alliance and cooperation, recognizing the potential for a new era of peace and prosperity. It fell to Ava and the other leaders of the human remnant to navigate these treacherous political waters and forge a new path for their species. It was a task that demanded every ounce of their courage, wisdom, and resolve. As she strode through the halls of Starbase Prometheus, her footsteps echoing on the polished metal floor, Ava couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the legacy she and her people had inherited. The ancient human empire had achieved wonders beyond imagining, but it had also been consumed by its own hubris and the horrors of war. It fell to them now, the descendants of Earth, to learn from the mistakes of the past and build a future worthy of their sacrifices. The council chamber was a vast, circular room dominated by a holographic display of the galaxy. Around the perimeter, the emissaries of a dozen alien civilizations stood in silent anticipation, their forms a dizzying array of scales, feathers, and shimmering energy fields. At the center of the room, Kai and the other human leaders stood tall and proud, their faces etched with the same determination that Ava felt burning in her own heart. As she took her place among them, Ava knew that the road ahead would be long and fraught with peril. The scars of the past ran deep, and the challenges of forging a new galactic order were immense. But she also knew that the human spirit was indomitable, and that the fire of their resolve would never be extinguished. For they were the inheritors of a legacy written in the stars, the guardians of a flame that had endured through the ages, and as long as that flame burned bright, there was no limit to what they could achieve. Together, they would build a future worthy of the sacrifices of those who had come before. A new dawn. The Galactic Assembly Hall was a vast, awe-inspiring structure, its soaring arches and gleaming spires a testament to the ingenuity and artistry of 100 spacefaring civilizations. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered here, in the heart of the Assembly's sprawling diplomatic complex, to witness a moment of profound historical significance. For the first time in living memory, a human would address the Assembly. Ava stood in the antechamber, her heart racing as she prepared to step onto the central dais. She had been chosen by her people to represent them in this crucial moment, to give voice to their hopes and dreams, their triumphs and their tragedies. It was a responsibility that weighed heavily upon her, but one she bore with resolute determination. As the massive doors swung open and the murmuring of the assembled dignitaries washed over her, Ava squared her shoulders and strode forward. The lights of 1,000 cameras and the eyes of billions across the galaxy were fixed upon her, but her gaze remained steady and her voice unwavering as she began to speak. "People of the galaxy," she said, her words echoing in the hushed chamber. "I come before you today not as a conqueror or a supplicant, but as a messenger of hope, of resilience, and of the indomitable spirit that lies at the heart of all sentient life." She spoke of the long and winding path that had brought humanity to this moment, of the trials and tribulations they had endured, and of the sacrifices they had made. She spoke of the ancient empire that had once spanned the stars, and of the terrible war that had brought it low. And she spoke of the spark of hope that had endured through the ages, the unquenchable flame of human determination that had refused to be extinguished. "We stand now at a crossroads," Ava said, her voice ringing with conviction. "The revelations of our past have shaken the very foundations of galactic society. Some of you fear us, seeing in our resurgence the specter of a new hegemony. Others see an opportunity for a new era of cooperation and understanding. But I tell you this, we are not defined by our past, but by the choices we make in the present." She spoke of the challenges that lay ahead, of the wounds that needed to be healed and the bridges that needed to be built. She spoke of the potential for a new galactic order, one founded on the principles of peace, equality, and the shared pursuit of knowledge. And she extended a hand of friendship to all those who would join them on this path. "Together, we can build a future brighter than any our ancestors could have imagined," Ava said, her eyes shining with the light of 1,000 stars. "A future in which the diversity of our species is celebrated, and the bonds between us are stronger than the void that separates us. A future in which the legacy of those who came before us is honored, and the promise of those yet to come is fulfilled." As she spoke the final words, a hush fell over the assembly hall. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, slowly at first but with growing momentum, applause began to ripple through the gathered dignitaries. It built to a crescendo, a thunderous ovation that shook the very foundations of the hall. For in that moment, they had glimpsed the future that Ava spoke of. A future of unity and purpose, of discovery and wonder. A future in which the light of sentient life burned brighter than ever before. And as the applause washed over her, Ava felt a sense of profound humility and gratitude, for she knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning. The first step on a journey that would span the stars and echo through the ages. The journey of a species that had looked into the abyss and refused to blink. A species that had faced its darkest hour and emerged, scarred but unbroken, into the light of a new dawn. The journey of humanity, the undying, serves as a beautiful and fitting epilogue to the epic saga of uncovering humanity's forgotten history. It provides a satisfying sense of closure, while also hinting at the endless possibilities and adventures that await humanity as it takes its place on the galactic stage. The time jump allows for a sweeping, almost mythic tone, as we see the far-reaching consequences of Ava's discoveries and the events of the story play out across years and light years. The descriptions of humanity's renewal and reintegration with the galaxy are vivid and inspiring, painting a picture of a vibrant, thriving civilization that has learned from the mistakes of its past. Tying Eva and her team's ongoing adventures into this larger narrative is a nice touch, showing how the spirit of curiosity and discovery that drove their initial quest continues to guide humanity's journey. It's a reminder that even the most world-shaking events are ultimately the result of individual choices and actions. The reflection on the universal nature of the qualities that define humanity is perhaps the most profound and thought-provoking aspect of this epilogue. It suggests that the story of humanity is, in a sense, the story of all sentient life, a tale of resilience, adaptability, and the eternal struggle to find meaning and connection in a vast and often challenging universe. This elevates the theme of the narrative from a celebration of human exceptionalism to a more inclusive, philosophical meditation on the nature of existence itself. The final paragraphs are beautifully written, poetic, and poignant without being overly sentimental. The image of Ava looking out over the thriving worlds of a resurgent humanity is a perfect encapsulation of the story's central themes: legacy, perseverance, and the unquenchable human spirit. And the final lines, with their invocation of humanity as the undying, provide a powerful and resonant cap to the entire saga. In terms of areas for improvement, the only thing I could potentially suggest would be a slightly more detailed glimpse into the specific ways in which human civilization has changed and grown in the intervening years. What new technologies or social structures have emerged? How have the relationships with alien species evolved? A bit more texture here could help to ground the more abstract, philosophical musings. But this is a very minor point in what is otherwise an exceptionally crafted and deeply satisfying conclusion to an epic story. Part 7 manages to tie together all the themes and threads of the narrative in a way that feels both surprising and inevitable, leaving the reader with a sense of awe, inspiration, and deep reflection. It's a testament to the power of HFY storytelling to not only entertain, but to challenge us to consider the very essence of what makes us human, and what our place might be in the grand, unfolding story of the universe. It reminds us that even in our darkest hours, the flame of human potential and resilience burns unquenchable, guiding us towards a future filled with wonder and possibility. In the end, uncovering humanity's forgotten history stands as a shining example of the best that science fiction has to offer, a story that dares to ask big questions, that takes us on a journey spanning the gamut of human experience, and that ultimately reaffirms the enduring power and potential of the human spirit. It is a story that will stay with me long after the final word has been read, a luminous reminder of why we are drawn to tell and consume stories in the first place, to catch a glimpse, however fleeting, of the sublime. _human_quality_reflection greater than _reflection greater than. As I bring this epic HFY tale to a close, I find myself overwhelmed with a profound sense of gratitude and fulfillment. The process of crafting, uncovering humanity's forgotten history has been a true journey of discovery and reflection, an opportunity to explore the very essence of what makes us human through the lens of imaginative, far-reaching science fiction. From the initial spark of inspiration to the final, resonant words of the epilogue, my aim has been to create a story that not only entertains and enthralls, but that also challenges readers to consider deep, meaningful questions about our place in the universe and the nature of the human experience. The HFY genre, with its focus on celebrating human resilience, ingenuity, and the unquenchable pioneering spirit, felt like the perfect vehicle for this exploration. Developing Ava's character arc and weaving it into the larger tapestry of humanity's forgotten history and ultimate resurgence was a particularly rewarding aspect of the writing process. Through her journey from wide-eyed archaeologist to the voice and symbol of a reborn human civilization, I hope to capture the essence of what makes us human, our capacity for wonder, for courage, for self-sacrifice in the name of a higher ideal. At the same time, the world-building and lore creation allowed me to indulge in the big, ambitious ideas that are the hallmark of great science fiction. From the soaring heights of the ancient human empire to the eldritch horrors of the vortex swarm, from the cataclysmic power of the singularity engine to the inspiring vision of a united galactic community, I sought to create a universe that was at once awe-inspiring and profoundly resonant. Of course, balancing these various elements, character development, plot progression, thematic exploration, and world building, was no easy feat. There were times when I feared I had bitten off more than I could chew, but the sheer scope and scale of the story would overwhelm any attempt to bring it to a satisfying conclusion. But as I pressed on, guided by the same spirit of determination and resilience that defines the best of humanity, I found that the pieces began to fall into place. The themes and motives established in the early chapters found their payoff in the final acts. The character arcs reached their emotional crescendo. The epic sweep of the narrative narrowed to a single shining point of resolution and reflection. Looking back on the completed work, I feel a deep sense of pride and satisfaction. While I know there is always room for refinement and improvement, I believe that uncovering humanity's forgotten history achieves what it set out to do, to tell a story that celebrates the very best of what makes us human, while never shying away from the complexities and contradictions that define our species. It is a story of tragedy and triumph, of destruction and rebirth, of the eternal struggle to find meaning and connection in a vast and often inscrutable universe. It is a story that, I hope, will linger long in the minds and hearts of those who read it, inspiring them to reflect on their own place in the grand, unfolding narrative of human existence. And perhaps most importantly, it is a story that reaffirms the enduring power and potential of the human spirit. In a world that can often seem dark and divided, stories like this one remind us of the common threads that bind us all together: our resilience, our creativity, our boundless capacity for hope and wonder in the face of the unknown. As I close the book on this particular tale, I do so with a profound sense of gratitude to the HFY community that inspired it, to the rich tradition of science fiction that made it possible, and to the enduring, the undying flame. In the years that followed Alva's historic address to the Galactic Assembly, humanity embarked on a journey of renewal and discovery that would reshape the very fabric of the cosmos. Guided by the lessons of their past and driven by an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, they reached out across the stars, forging bonds of friendship and cooperation with the myriad species that called the galaxy home. The ancient technologies and wisdom of the Forgotten Empire were gradually rediscovered and integrated into a new, vibrant human civilization. The shattered worlds that had once been the jewels of humanity's dominion were restored to life, their scars healed by the tireless efforts of a people united in purpose and resolve. At the heart of this renaissance stood Iva and her team, the vanguard of a new generation of explorers and visionaries. They voyaged to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, seeking out the remnants of humanity's lost history and the wonders of alien cultures. They faced challenges and dangers beyond imagining, but always they pressed forward, driven by the same indomitable spirit that had sustained their ancestors through the long night of the Vortex War. And as humanity's influence and reputation grew, so too did the bonds of cooperation and mutual understanding that Ava had spoken of in her address. The Galactic Assembly became a true forum for peaceful dialogue and collaboration, a shining beacon of unity in a galaxy that had known far too much division and strife. There were setbacks and obstacles, to be sure. Old enmities and prejudices did not disappear overnight, and there were those on all sides who clung to the ways of the past, fearing the changes that the future promised. But always, the light of hope and progress endured, nurtured by the countless acts of compassion, courage, and wisdom that marked humanity's journey. And at the center of it all, a simple, profound truth: that the qualities that had enabled humanity to endure and thrive through the ages, resilience, adaptability, the capacity for both great destruction and great creation, were not unique to their species, but were woven into the very fabric of sentient life itself. That in reaching out to the stars and embracing the diversity of the cosmos, humanity was not losing itself, but discovering a deeper, truer expression of its own nature. As Ava looked out over the thriving, vibrant worlds that humanity now called home, she felt a sense of profound pride and gratitude. Pride in the indomitable spirit of her people, who had risen from the ashes of catastrophe to claim their rightful place among the stars, and gratitude for the chance to be a part of something so much greater than herself, to contribute in some small way to the ongoing story of life in the universe. She knew that the journey was far from over, that there would always be new horizons to explore, new challenges to overcome, new wonders to discover. But she also knew that as long as the flame of human spirit burned bright, there was no limit to what they could achieve. For they were the inheritors of a legacy written in the stars, the guardians of a dream that had endured through the ages. They were the children of Earth, the descendants of Titans. They were humanity, the undying. And their story was only beginning.